All right, dope. So it should be on. Apologies, I know I've been pushing this back. I was gonna start a little bit early. I was kind of busy with some stuff, so needed to adjust the time, um, and all that. But appreciate y'all. Good good evening. Good evening. We definitely listen today. Women's 60, like yo, this was this was interesting. Um, give me 1 second. Let me make sure my headphones. Let's see. All right, I think we should be a little bit better. There we go. Okay. Needed to just make sure the sound is good. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started because yeah, this was this women's 60 meters. So first of all, I'm gonna of course I want to talk about everything in terms of like the 60 meters, the 400, the 60 hurdles. Even talk about some of the field events as well. I'll circle back to yesterday to just talk about some of the field events as well. And then also I want to talk about I saw some fast races in Botswana. Also, I know I'll cross check. This might be happening live, but there's a me going down in Jamaica where I think Sharika Jackson is running the 400. Elaine Thompson-Herah is running the 200. So by the end of this, maybe we'll cross check the results and see what may or may not happen. I think that's going on until like maybe another hour or so, but we'll see. But all right. So as we dive in, we listen. This was something. Yeah, Velocity Fest. Okay. Yeah, this was something. This was something. I mean, listen, we gotta start off. Listen, the women's 60 meters. Now, Zaynab Dosso. Okay. Oh, Sharika's in the blots. Okay. So what I'll do is, of course, we'll dive in with the 60, and then afterwards, like towards the end, we can just check out the results live and see if some of the races come up, and we can kind of cross check there because that actually might be a good thing to just like take a look at. Again, Elaine Thompson-Herah running the 200, whole different thing. But listen, women's 60 meters. So Zaynab Dosso gets the gold medal running 7 seconds flat, beating out Jasa Sears and Alfred. Julien Alfred getting third place, Jasa Sears getting second place. This was a big performance, right? Big performance. And shout out to y'all, right? Like I remember, I did say last week on the stream, I'm predicting Dosso for the upset, just the chaos. Y'all put respect on my name. Listen, if you predicted it, I ain't mad at it. I appreciate y'all. I called the final being 699, 702 range after seeing the semifinal. All right, I'm going to talk about these rounds as well because this was, I think, the rounds were very, very telling. Yeah, Dosso looked unstoppable from the first round. Yeah, like some of this stuff was very, very good. And yes, we gonna talk about Dean Asher Smith and Amy Hunt, right? Like both of them. We got some stuff. So Zaynab Dosso, gold medal, 7 seconds flat, ahead of Julien Alfred, who got bronze, and then ahead of Jasa Sears, who got the silver medal. I think what's really impressive to me is that Zaynab Dosso essentially had a perfect progression in the 60 meters because in 2024, she got the bronze medal at the World Indoor Champs, right behind Julien Alfred, who won gold, and then Iwa Swoboda got the silver. Zaynab Dosso was bronze. 2025, last year, Mujinga Kumbunji got the gold medal, and then Zaynab Dosso got the silver, and now she upgrades to the gold medal. And I think as y'all said, she was almost obviously not perfect. I don't know what perfect may actually look like, but she was rolling from the early starts of the round, right? In the heat, she runs 707, right? Straight up 707, and she looked very, very good. Like Zaynab Dosso looked very comfortable. Then you get into the semifinals, and I'm going to talk about some of the others as we go through the rounds, right? You get into the semifinals, she runs 7 flat. So at that point, and her execution she was looking good, right? And I feel like Zaynab Dosso was understanding this was her moment. She ran 699 early in this, or earlier in the season, a few weeks ago. She had run 7 seconds flat, or like 7:0 in that range a couple times throughout the year. And this was the same track where she ran that 6.9. So she was in the moment, and she realized, listen, bronze medal in 2024, silver medal in 2025. This is going to be my chance. If there's any opportunity for me to actually get on top of the podium, this was going to be the chance. So as she progressed through the rounds, she looked good. And then we end up in the final, and she just executes on all cylinders to get that gold medal. I think this was, and for all intents and purposes, you can argue, obviously she's run 6.9, but you can make an argument that this was almost as perfect as of a race that you can get for Zaynab Dosso, right? You're like just a hundredth of a second off her personal best, and the consistency through the rounds. We have a couple people to talk about who weren't consistent, whether it's in different events or through the rounds, but running 7-0 back to back in rounds, that is very impressive to me. Very, very impressive. So we'll see. I think, as I said, well, I'll actually note that later, but huge shout out to Zaynab Dosso. Silver medal, Jason Sears, 7.03 seconds, and it equals her season's best. She's another one who I was very impressed with throughout all the rounds because of how she was really executing. We saw in the semifinals where, Jason Sears basically, Julien Alfred, I'm gonna talk about Julien Alfred in a second. Shout out to Julien, but Jason Sears got an excellent start. She was getting great starts throughout all the different rounds, right? Really executing it. In these semifinals where Julien Alfred just edged her out, Jason Sears was out like a rocket. She was out like a rocket, and Julien Alfred had to run her down. Even Brianna Liston was looking good in this case as well, but Jason Sears was very consistent, and I think that led her to getting on the podium in the final, running 7:03, right? And similar to Zaynab Dosso, similar to some of the other women like Patricia van der Weeken, even though she did finish last year. Like if you look at Jason Sears throughout her 2026 season, she had been very consistent throughout the year in the what am I looking at? In the 7 lows already, right? Look at all these different marks throughout 2026. She literally only had 2 marks in 7.12 and 7.11. Now, granted, other women such as Zaynab Dosso, such as Julien Alfred, who they had also done similar, but Jason Sears was really showing some strong consistency, which I think led to her getting onto the podium. Now, her breaking through, because I know you noted, let me see. You noted that, Dynamics, you said that I definitely didn't have Sears on the podium. I think one interesting thing to that goes to that point is this is her first time individually at a global champs, right? She had competed at the World Outdoor Championships in Tokyo last year, running the 4x1, but she missed the team at USA's in the 100, despite running, consistently outdoors in the 10.8s and then 10.9s and all that. So I guess there were some questions, especially considering she finished second to Julien Alfred. She finished second to Dean Asher-Smith, throughout the year. And the women in Europe, like Zaynab Dosso, like Amy Hunt, like Patricia van der Weeken, they were really cooking. But Jason Sears, she, at least to me, proved here that she has the capabilities of showing up when it counts, when she gets that opportunity, right? I know, obviously, again, she missed the team at USA's last year, but it's a whole different bag when we're talking about Melissa Jefferson Wooden and et cetera, et cetera. But I do think for me here, Jason Sears proved that she can, if given the right opportunity, she can show up. And it's almost like part of her growth process, right? Remember, she was in the NCAA and she ran that 10.7, and then she got injured, and then, all those kind of things happened. She eventually went pro. So she almost had like a really quick, unexpected, push into the pro scene. And this is kind of her first real opportunity to show herself on the global stage. And now she really did it. So I'm interested to see how she actually does translate when we do get outdoors, on if she can continue with this momentum, if she can really, continue on running, 10.8s, maybe dip into that 10.7 once again. But overall, pretty excited. And I'm really impressed with Jason Sears and, of course, Zaynab Dosso. I'll come back to Zaynab Dosso in terms of her outdoor pedigree. But listen, Julien Alfred. So this is the question. Now, as I said, because I'm never going to go back on my word, right? I said Julien Alfred, to me, was the clear favorite. Now, I did say that it's not going to be easy for her to win, but when I look at Julien Alfred and kind of the progression that she's had throughout her career, obviously 2024, she won the gold medal indoors. She won the Olympic gold medal. We know that she's able to get some great starts. She's able, she has a second fastest all time at 6.94. She's run 6.9 multiple times. I saw her as the, basically clearer favorite. Now, that doesn't mean a lock. That's not like Mondo Duplantis or, someone like that. But I thought she was a clearer favorite. But I think at minimum, I said it would be a shock if she didn't get on the podium. Now, let's be clear. She almost didn't get on the podium. And I think what I personally saw is throughout the rounds, well, actually, I'll just show very quickly here, is this is a final. You can kind of see that she just didn't have a good start. She really didn't get a good start. And you could see Jason Sears, you could see Zaynab Dosso. They're already a step ahead of her, maybe slightly ahead. But this same thing happened in the semifinals and the heats as well. When you're talking about the heats, I'll just circle back to the semifinals, but in the semifinals, Julien Alfred didn't get a good start there either. The same thing happened in the heats. She didn't get a good start again there either. Shout out to you, Dynamics. Yep, like pulling them up. But what you call it? Yeah, like she didn't get a good start. So when I saw those 2 rounds and then compared them to what Jason Sears did, and especially what Zaynab Dosso did, I was a little bit worried because it kind of did show those little weaknesses of like, okay, sure, Julien Alfred, you know how to run down a field in a 60, but if Zaynab Dosso gets a perfect race, then you might not be able to run her down, right? Considering what we're looking at in this, situation. And that's unfortunately what, did unfold when we get to the actual final. So I really think for Julien Alfred, the signs of her maybe not, being able to show up or have that consistency did, present themselves in the heats and the semis when we saw that she wasn't getting a good start. When I say a good start, like a good start relative to the other women, right? I haven't looked at like the splits and stuff like that, but if she's not beating Zaynab Dosso, if she's not beating Jason Sears out of the blocks, then what are you going to do when Zaynab Dosso is actually lined up and she's already clicking off 7 flat? You know what I'm saying? That's like something that, you need to take into consideration. And we saw this to a degree at the Tyson Invitational, right? Where she lined up against the entire field, including Brianna Liston and Jason Sears. And yeah, she beat them running 6'9", but she had to run them down. And this was kind of the big moment where it's like, all right, you either got to be running on all cylinders and in personal best form, running those 6'9" fours, or, it's not going to come up. And unfortunately, just so happened to be the case here. So shout out to Julien Alfred. I think what is impressive to me is that she's able to show insane consistency, right? She has not missed a single global medal anytime that she's contested for one since 2023, when she had just come out of Texas, right? 2023, she was in the final in both the 100 and the 200 at the World Championships in Budapest. But, she, right after that, World Indoor Gold, Olympic Gold, World Outdoor Bronze medal last year. And then now she gets another bronze medal. Obviously, the expectations are definitely, as I said, I thought Julien Alfred was like the clear favorite, and it would be hard for her, for anyone to take her down. But, the opportunity presented itself for others to capitalize off the mistakes that at least I feel like she made, not getting a great start. And that's what we saw here. But listen, shout out to Julien Alfred. Yeah, like her medal collection is crazy. And I think in general, people are going to look at it and say, yo, there's like, you should be winning the gold medal. You should be, running these fast times, which in theory makes sense because of how fast she already has won, and like her talent and pedigree and, success relative to the other women who are ahead of her, right? Who are, haven't had that success yet. But I mean, listen, Julien Alfred, shout out to her. And we'll see how things do progress outdoors. I know that I'm assuming Julien Alfred is definitely going to be looking towards the Commonwealth Games. She got the silver medal in 2022 outdoors in the 100 at the Commonwealth Games, just behind Elaine Thompson-Herah. So I think now looking forward, she's going to want to get the gold medal at the Commonwealth Games this year. So that'll probably be on her radar. And I mean, a couple of these athletes, they talk about how, indoors is just training. I think Kashane, in his post-race interview, I don't know if it's post-race or post-medal ceremony on a CDS Mag YouTube channel has it up. He was like, this is all training. We don't train for indoors. So I think everyone is Julien Alfred definitely focused on outdoors. Before I get to some of the other, or let me not say that. Julien Alfred is definitely going to be aiming towards outdoors. I don't know like what her, training, progress was like for the indoor season. Maybe she was peaking for a year. Before I talk about the other women, I do want to just note for Zaynab Dosso, what I'm now looking for going forward is if she can translate this consistency in the 7.0 and then the 6.9 range, just again to highlight, what she was able to do. I mean, I'm just going to pull up her all-time marks at this point. 6.99, 7 flat, 7.01, right? 7.02, 7.02. Like, she is consistent. And look at when these marks are set. You're talking about her top 4 marks were just set in 2026. And 2 of them, those 7 flats, were just at this World Indoor Champs, right? And then you add in the 7.02, which was also from earlier this year, right? Add in a 7.04. So she is showing a ton of consistency, but now what is that going to do when she comes to 100, where she still has an 11.01 personal best? How is she going to be able to translate that 6.9 into a 10.9, right? Or potentially a 10.8? Can she actually do that? Right? We've seen Iwa Swoboda she was able to, shout out to Iwasobota, she got 6th place here, but she was able to run sub-7 a couple times back in, 2022 and 2024, I think. And she eventually did get to, the sub 11 seconds, but not consistently enough. Now, granted, Iwasobota, she did make a world championship final in 2023 in Budapest. Can Zaynab Dosso actually, assert herself? Again, I really do think of, I guess if I'm taking things on paper for as they are, Julien Alfred and Jason Sears are already better 100-meter sprinters, not only because of like their times, but their consistency against the other women in the world. Jason Sears, she's been to Diamond League races and she's run 10.8, right, at like Prefontaine, and she's been to other Diamond League races and finished amongst the pack, right? Julien Alfred, obviously we know she's an Olympic gold medalist, she's proven. Zaynab Dosso has yet to do that. So what is this going, or how is this going to translate outdoors? That I think is going to be very, very important. But we gonna see how those things do happen. All right, so let's talk about Brianna Liston. But before and the rest of the women. Before I do, let me I just did note, yeah, like I need that Paris 2024 final start to come back. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Either those like starts from Julien Alfred from either 2023 when she was at Texas, right? Like indoors, or that 2024. I guess I'm noticing maybe a little bit that it can be up and down in terms of where or how Julien does execute her races across the board. Sometimes she'll get a really, really great start, but then other times, she won't get as great of a start, but then her top end speed and the second half is going to look really, really great. It's sometimes does tend to be a little bit mixed. So I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Yeah. And she needs to work on her leaning when finishing. Hey, shout out to Shane Thompson. He's apparently the expert now. Like he can help her out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more as well. 3 rounds in one day, that makes a big difference. So when thinking about these women, or at least like Julien Alfred, Zaynab Dosso, they've done this before. So I'm actually not, I don't think that's too much of a factor. Again, Julien Alfred literally in 2024, she ran the perfect progress. Like she ran from 7.0s and then in the final she ran 6.9. Same thing, 3 rounds in one day. So I don't think that's a factor for someone like Julien Alfred, and definitely not for Zaynab Dosso because she proved herself. But I don't know. I think for a couple different people, shout out to Jason Sears as well. Like she kind of did prove herself well. A couple different people, it did show up. So we'll talk about that. All right. So yeah, let's just dive in. Let's talk about Brianna Liston. So Brianna Liston, I think she had an excellent indoor championships. Obviously, she didn't get on the podium, but I think in context, she actually had a really, really good indoor championships and overall 2025-26 season as a whole, right? Considering she had gotten injured in, 2024 during the outdoor season, Brianna Liston got injured. Remember, she didn't go to Jamaican trials in 2024. 2025, right? She was also injured. And then she, eventually does turn pro, leaves LSU, and is now training down in Florida with Lance Brahman. So here we saw kind of the sparks of her during the indoor season when she opened up up in Boston, right? We saw the sparks of her opening up, running 7:11, her fastest opener ever. Then she goes to the Tyson Invitational and runs 7:09 and 7:07. And then she, at the World Indoor Champs, she runs 7:06 and then back-to-back 7:05s. That is very impressive from Brianna Liston. And let me just cross-check. Yeah, 7:05, 7:05. So this is very impressive. She essentially had the perfect, quote-unquote, perfect progression for her first professional season and her kind of like comeback season to a degree. 7:11, 7:09, 7:07, 7:06, and then 7:05. Now, again, obviously, I think the context, some will say, oh, she didn't get on the podium, so it's a disappointment. I mean, in my opinion, I think this is very, very impressive, all things considered. And now I do think that when we look forward, and also just to note, she only ran 3 meets this year. 3 meets. New Balance Indoor Grand Prix in Boston. She ran the Tyson Invitational in Arkansas, and then she ran the World Indoor Champs. Those are the only 3 meets she ran. Said, and again, I mentioned it in a previous video when I was at USA Indoors, but Lance Brahman literally said, yo, I'm taking things slow with her. And sure, World Indoors is a big meet, but like think of the progression with only running 3 meets. They're focused on outdoors. So I'm very impressed with Brianna Liston. And now, obviously, she's been in the conversation with the likes of, Tia and Tina Clayton, with the likes of Alana Reed, with the likes of, all these other women, when we're talking about Jamaican 100-meter sprinting. And I think she very much should be someone who's like really in that conversation, right? Now, she's only run, I think, 10.9 outdoors, if I'm correct. And actually, let me just cross-check that to make sure. I think she's only run, 10.91 is her personal best, and that's from early in 2024. I think she's well overdue. Let me see what the wind was on. So she ran 10.84 with a plus 2.2 wind. I think she's well overdue for getting into, and this is Brianna Listen, getting into the 10.8s, legally, and maybe pushing into those 10.7s, right? I think, who is it? Tia Clayton, her best is, I think, still 10.8. I don't think she ran 10.7 yet, but I think she is right in that realm. And don't be surprised if we end up seeing over the next, few years, the big three from Jamaica becoming Tia Clayton, Tina Clayton, and Brianna Listen, right? Don't be surprised. Now, granted, again, there's a ton of other Jamaican women who are very much in the conversation, but a competition like this gives Brianna Listen confidence. The last time she was at a championship, the last time she was at a championship, I guess, was NCAA's, where she was, individually, of course, winning the NCAA title, but running against the best women in the world here after only 3 meets. Listen, Brianna Listen is going to be someone to definitely look out for. Okay, my bad. Yes, both sisters are at 10.7. I forgot what Tia Clayton, her personal best is, because Tina, obviously, she ran 10.76 to get the silver medal at World Championships, but I just forget off the top of my head. But Brianna Listen, very, very calm presence during the pressure. So if that's who you're talking about. So shout out to Brianna Listen. Jonelle Smith, also, I'm very impressed with her. My bad. So that's why I was like, I feel like Tia wasn't 10.7. Yeah, 10.81. No, Tia might be 10.81, I think. Man, let's just like cross check. Because I'm like, let me just cross check so we can make sure we get. 'Cause I know that Tina is already at the 10.82. My bad. You're right. 10.82. Because I'm like, I know Tia hadn't, because remember at Jamaican trials last year, she got injured and she probably would have run 10.7-ish, or maybe not 10.7, but she would have run, extremely fast. But yeah, she didn't get it. And then Tina gets the world champs and she ends up running 10.7.6 to get the medal. But outside of that, so at the Jonelle Smith, also amazing progression through this meet and just showing up throughout 2026 as a whole, considering her comeback from injury and all that. So really, really proud of her. In the final, she ran 7.06. I think what'd she get in the semis? I know she had gotten, I think the semis is where she got a personal best. Yeah, 7.03 for Jonelle Smith in the semifinal. So I think this bodes very well for her outdoors. And Jonelle Smith, she's probably one who you should keep an eye out for when it comes to Commonwealth Games. That's who someone I would really keep an eye out for. Now, I'm not saying keep an eye out like, oh, she's going to win the gold medal or anything like that. But I do think that she's someone who might be in that conversation and could surprise for a medal. Now, there's a whole question around her actually qualifying for Commonwealth Games, because if you have Brianna Listen, if you have Brianna Listen, if you have the Clayton twins, if you have, all those other women who are, fighting for Elaine Thompson-Herah, maybe Sharika Jackson, et cetera, it gets tricky. But I'm proud of Jonelle Smith and showing up here. Similar to, like I said, for the men, where outdoors she had run some really strong times. She hadn't run 7.0 indoors yet, but she proved it here. Like, she proved that her outdoor performances are no fluke, or at least she's able to replicate what she was able to do outdoors, indoors here, and showing up again in fifth. So really, really, really happy for her. Iwa Sobota, 6th place here. She's been here a bunch of times. She's been here many, many years, but her most recent time getting on the podium was 2024. But, shout out to her. She didn't have like the strongest of seasons overall, but to run a season's best in the final, great performance. Before we get to Dean Asher-Smith, Patricia Vanderweeken, I think this was just unfortunately an underperformance for her. Obviously, she had been showing some strong consistency throughout the year, and she just didn't show up in the final. And she got the bronze medal last year at World Indoor. So, is what it is, but shout out to all the different women. Dean Asher-Smith. Let's talk about Dean Asher-Smith and Amy Hunt. Dean Asher-Smith from Great Britain. So she had been having an amazing indoor season up to this point, right? And even, let's actually even say up to the semis, because, she was looking very, very good. She had run 7.03. She had equaled the British record, all throughout the year. She was consistently winning races. She went to British champs and won that. Like, she was winning and very consistent. So to see her get 7th place here, and again, after in the semifinals, like, my bad, Dinasha Smith equaled her national record running 7:03. This equaled her personal best, which she set all the way back in 2023, if I'm correct. So she was essentially in the best form of her life, right? In terms of at least the 60 meters, showing that, oh, nah, when I get to that final, it's not going to be easy. I'm fighting for a spot on the podium. But then we see the final, and she ends up getting 7th place running 7:07. And, this came up earlier, but Dinasha Smith noted that after the semifinals, her and her coach had changed something in terms of, her block settings and her, for her block start. And so and she didn't execute, on it as she thought she would have, and as she practiced. And eventually that led to, her, running 7:07. I mean, to be fair, that's like really impressive, running 7:07, and you changed, something, I guess, drastic enough between the semis and the final. But then it begs the question on, I guess, like the why, right? Like the why. Now, granted, obviously, I'll say I'm not in the conversations. I don't know exactly, what her and Coach Ford, shout out to Coach Ford. Like, I don't know what they're talking about, behind the scenes, or what they've been planning for the year. And then I don't know what the conversation was like right after the semis of like, oh no, you did this, but to get to here, you got to do this. I don't know. But I think that if you're going to make a change, it's just very risky. Where again, in the semifinal, you are in the form of your life. You're running 7:03. So in my mind, I'm like, if you are able, if you're able to replicate that 7:03, in theory, you get on the podium. Obviously, you'd have to, parse it out based on the time. But it's like, I don't know, man. And this is, I guess, because she gave the explanation that, like, yeah, she did change something between the semis and the final. That kind of does maybe change the narrative around, I know people saying like running their final in the semis. But I don't know. It's very, very tricky. And to be fair, I don't know if it's to be fair, but Dinasha Smith has not been to a World Indoor Championship. Someone could cross-check me on that, but I don't think she's ever been to a World Indoor Championships. Because in 2023, there was no World Indoors, and I'm just going to go to her honors because I don't think she's been to World Indoor Champs. Yeah, she's never been to World Indoor Champs, because if she finished in the final, so this is the only one. So I say that to say she doesn't have that 3-round experience. Now, let's be very clear. I know, shout out to Michael Ford. I spoke to him a little bit, and some months ago, not recently, but he actually, said that they actually have been clear-eyed and training for running 3 rounds in one day. But that's something to take into consideration that is, really, really tricky. But I don't know. We'll see. I know that Dina, there's European championships this year, but I know for a fact she's focused on Commonwealth Games because it's also at home in Great Britain, and she missed it in 2022 because she was dealing with some injuries. But I don't know. We'll see what how she ultimately fares outdoors. Dina has had a very, very, I guess, like, tricky and up and down career, right? She got the gold medal in the 200 and the silver medal in the 100 all the way back in 2019. 2022, she got the bronze medal in the 200. But it's been very tricky because I think there's been many times where Dina has been there's been times where it's like there were expectations for Dina to perform, to a certain way, and maybe she hasn't lived up to those expectations. So as she kind of does, continue with her career, I guess the question is, will she be able to live up to those expectations? And yes, Commonwealth Games this year, but like, what about the World Champs and the Olympics, et cetera, et cetera? But I don't know. But shout out to Dinasha Smith. Last one to talk about is just Amy Hunt. Amy Hunt did not make the finals. She did not make the final. And in here, she ran 7:10 in her semifinal. So this is another example of also someone apparently changing something prior to what I think at this case was changing something prior to the championships, and it not, executing in the way that she expected. So apparently she had made a change. I don't know if I think it was blocks or something along those lines, but it was something about changing something to try and get her to run sub 7 seconds, from my understanding. And again, it's like, okay, obviously she's been having a very good season. She's been making a lot of progress. She ran, personal best this year. Like, she's been running very, very well. And then making a slight change. Again, I'm not in the conversations, between her and her coach. And she has an amazing coach, right? Shout out to Mark Riley. But it's like, I guess performances, when we see the performances just as like viewers and spectators, it does make us, of course, like question things like, man, like, what if you didn't change it? Could you have done this? Right? Could you have gotten there? Like, could you have actually made the final? I don't know if Amy Hunt would have actually medaled just based on how things did unfold, but who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe she would have had the race of her life if she just kind of stuck with the script. But I don't know. I guess that's going to be a piece of the conversation that everyone is going to have. Like, oh, what if they didn't actually change, right? So I don't know, but that is I think that was interesting because these were the core women between Zaynab Dosso, Dina Smith, Janelle Smith, Julien Alfred, Jason Sears, Brianna Liston, Patricia Vanderweeken. I actually maybe even had Amy Hunt above Iwa Sobota just based on this year, but those are the women. I saw this race as like the most stacked, or this 60-meter field. I saw this as the most stacked 60-meter field in a very, very long time. Like going back to 2022 or maybe even 2018, where you had Elaine Thompson-Herah, Daphne Schippers, Marie-Josée Talu-Smith. Like you had this was a stacked field, but you know, I don't know. That's the women's 60 meters overall, though. Overall, unfortunately, just man, this was tough. Huge shout outs to the podium. I think maybe some the community maybe expected a little bit more, or maybe a little. Julien Alfred just wasn't consistent with those starts. Maybe needs to like kind of fix things up. But we'll see. Obviously, she's a proven athlete, so we know what she's capable of outdoors. Jason Sears, Zaynab Dosso, I think this bodes very well for them, you know, going outdoors. So we'll see. All right, before I move over to some of the other events, let me just circle back to some of the comments. I know, yeah, Amy Hunt's starts did not look good in the rounds, and it bit her. The 100 meters, you can get away with it, but not here with the depth and the quality of sprinters that come to Worlds. And exactly, and we're talking about the 60 meters, right? Amy Hunt has some very strong speed endurance, right? Obviously, she got a silver medal in the 200 last year, and she's run some strong hundreds, right? And has a strong second half. But like when you're talking about the 60, you cannot have a bad start. Again, case in point, unfortunately, is Julien Alfred. If you mess up the start and the other women are perfect and on point, it's not going to work. So yeah, I agree. It's like, it's tough. You can't get away with having a bad start. Yeah. Dina had many injuries and inconsistencies with race patterns throughout the years, but I think the way she looked throughout the indoor season, she definitely could look stronger going outdoors. Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, you look at 2021 at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, where she had to pull out. You know, she didn't make it through the rounds in the 100, and she had to pull out of the rest of the meet. I think she did run the 4x1, but you know, she was injured, right? It was just unfortunate timing. 2022, she was also dealing with injuries, even though she ran a equal personal best in the final at the World Championships in the 100. And then she got on the podium in the 200, but she couldn't compete at Commonwealth Games. 2023, dealing with injury. She didn't even make the 100-meter final at the World Champs in Budapest. And then, you know, we saw 2024. I don't think she made the 100-meter final there. She did make the 200-meter final, but like it's been a very, very up and down season. And I think I personally just look at Dina Smith because, like, I mean, I think many of us, but have been able to see her growth, where she pops out in 2015 at the World Championships in Beijing as an extremely young athlete, and she gets what, 5th place, right? I think she gets 5th place in that 200-meter final. Like, you know what I'm saying? We've been able to see the progress and the growth that she's had. So it's tough seeing her, and obviously she's gotten a gold medal. So we know the talent that Dina Smith does have. So it gets tricky when you know, she doesn't perform, unfortunately. But you know, that's a tough thing. Okay. Thanks for that cross check. So Dina went to World Indoors in 2016 and made the final, but she DNS did not start after running 7:11 in the semis. Got it. Thanks for that cross check. I actually did not remember that. But that makes sense. Okay. So that kind of does go to the point then that she still doesn't have that experience of running 3 full rounds, right? So if she didn't run the final, then she hasn't run 3 rounds in one day. But again, I know for a fact that they have been training for 3 rounds. Again, I know that for 100% fact. So, you know, it's not to disparage her in any capacity. All right. So good note. So sometimes coaches do stuff like this in terms of, like, you know, changing things up to experiment new technical changes indoors before outdoors, but it's very sketchy to do so weeks before Worlds or during the championships. Yeah, 100% agree. Again, it's interesting, but that's why I say, like, I'm not in the back rooms or, you know, in the conversations with them, because it's like, what are their goals, right? Like, maybe, and this is me, you know, playing a hypothetical, but what if there's a conversation around, okay, this is the final, and obviously, you know, we want to get on that podium, but outdoors is more important, and maybe we want to test, you know, your test your ability to deal with change on a split second. All right. So I'm going to make this quick change for you. Right. And you got to go and execute. Right. Again, this is a pure hypothetical, and I actually doubt that's the case, but who knows? Who knows? It is what it is. All right. So yeah, we're going to get to actually, I have the hurdles next. So we're going to talk about that in a second. Yeah, man. I thought the world record was going to be gone after all those low sevens in the semis. I mean, I don't know if I thought the world record was going to be gone. I did. I don't know. I thought, and I think I said it in a previous live where it was like, I thought that 694 to 5, anywhere between like 694 to like 697 was probably going to win the gold medal. That's what I was kind of thinking entering these championships because of the field, and then also, the performances we saw. But it is what it is. So let's dive in. Let's talk about these hurdles because it was wild. So I'm gonna bring up the hurdles. Man, I don't know, man. This was like this was wild. This was really, really overall strange. So I'm gonna work backwards, and I'm gonna pull up here. I'm gonna work backwards a little bit. But in the final, Jakub Szymanski, 7.40 seconds to get the gold medal at home in Poland, beating out a very high quality field. He was fifth place. Fifth place. Jakub Szymanski, fifth place at the World Indoors in 2024 in Glasgow. Yep, he got fifth place there, and now he upgrades to gold medal. So big performance for Jakub Szymanski. Like really, really proud of him. He's only 23. Yeah, he's 23 years old. So he's still extremely young. He's still developing. He's still growing. And I think this is going to be a very, very big springboard to potential success outdoors. You have the European Outdoor Championships, but he's going to be contending against someone like Enrique Lopez, right? Lopez, 7.42 seconds for the silver medal. Big performance from Enrique. Big performance for him. Really, I'm really proud of him showing up here and being able to get on the podium here and running a national record and a personal best. Like huge performance for him. And coming not too far behind Jakub Szymanski. Also going to have some strong implications as we do go outdoors. But then you have Trey Cunningham, bronze medal position, 7.43 seconds. I think just for context, I think Dylan Beard, he pulled out for I think some medical situation or something along those lines from what I saw. But listen, Trey Cunningham. So Trey Cunningham in the semifinals, Trey Cunningham goes crazy. I was about to say he bombs, but he didn't bomb. He went crazy. He dropped the bomb with 7.35 seconds, moved him to number 5 all time in the 60-meter hurdles, right? Number 5 all time, improves on his personal best of 7.37 from earlier this year, right? He's been running 7.3 consistently this year, a couple times. And once he runs this in the semifinals, it's like, oh, nah, he's running on a different cylinder right now. He is like focused. He is locked in. All right, he's ready to really show up in that final. Now, not that it's going to be easy, but if you're doing this and considering how Trey has spoken about, his history and how he's spoken about, being disappointed when, when things didn't go his way, whether that's not making Team USA, last year, dealing with injuries, in the years prior to that, all those kind of aspects at the World Indoors in 2024. I think he got 5th or 6th place, right? Not, kind of performing to expectations there. He's spoken about that and he's very, very aware of that. So to me, I was like, oh, nah, Trey is locked in. 7.35. And then Jakub is only quote unquote running 7.42. Trey is locked in. But then we get to that final. And unfortunately, he just doesn't execute. And it's a big drop off, almost a full 1/10 of a second down to 7.43 seconds. It's like, it's tough because, and from my understanding, he was also like pretty pissed. Like he was like, he was disappointed because you don't have the season that you had, and then you show up here as you did. Now, to be fair and to be clear, this is a good performance for Trey Cunningham. Think of all the context that I just gave you, where the last time he was on the podium was outdoors at the 2022 World Champs, right? He got the silver medal behind Grant Holloway. So for him to circle back after missing teams, after not getting on the podium, after injuries, after all those setbacks, and to actually get on the podium, that is actually something to celebrate. At least, I know he's going to be disappointed, but shout out to Trey Cunningham here. But it does kind of go back to the conversation around 3 rounds in one day, because at USA's, something similar did occur, right? Where I'm just going to bring this up, but at USA's this year indoors, we actually did see where, let me get the results. So I'm on point here. We actually did see that he ran, oh no, okay, they only had 2 rounds. To be fair, only had 2 rounds, so it is what it is. But at USA's, he ran 7.38 seconds in the heats in the 60-meter hurdles, but then he dropped back to 740, just behind Dylan Beard, who won it over him, running 7.37. So there's that kind of question and conversation. Then you look at what occurred here, where it's like, okay, in the semifinals, you drop that monster 7.35, after running, the first round and then in semifinals, but then in the final, you drop back a little bit. So again, obviously, I'm not gonna, I guess like a doctor, right? A doctor would like diagnose something, but it's just making observations, connecting the dots on like, okay, are you able to really manage these rounds on a single day? That's a question. And managing the pressure, managing those aspects. I mean, it's like really, really tough. But we'll see. We'll see. So thanks for this. No, I actually didn't see this. So apparently Trey had some cramping during the final run-outs before the final, watching from UK coverage. So yeah, according to Colin Jackson and the BBC, Trey Cunningham was cramping during his final run-outs. Okay, so that actually would make more sense then, or make at least, provide some context there. And yes, apologies, right? Because I actually didn't have that information because I wasn't seeing the BBC broadcast. But okay, so that actually does provide some context. And if anything, that's actually a big step up. If you're talking about who's cramping, dealing with things, and ran 7.43, good performance. But regardless, we'll see what Trey is able to do as we do look forward. And probably Ultimate Championships, that's going to be, his place to really assert himself. But we'll see how the year goes on. Shout out to Demario Prince, big personal best for the 4th place. Belosian, I thought, this is like, he wasn't too far off the podium, but Belosian, I thought he was going to be more in contention, but shout out to him. Nomoto with the 7.49. And then, like I said, Dylan Beard, he kind of did pull out due to a medical something from my understanding. But listen, that's the 60-meter hurdles. Drama. Okay, let's move over men's 400. So let me pull up these 400s because men's and women's 400. I'll actually, let me just go through the women very quickly because I don't know, man. The women's 400, I was a little, I guess, I don't know if disappointed is a real word. Let me just like close out some of these tabs, but I don't know if disappointed is a word or if it's like, I don't know, my expectations were, I'm gonna be honest, my expectations were set kind of like already coming into this meet because as I said in the preview for this is the women's 400, the field wasn't that deep, right? We didn't have I don't know, just like the top 400-meter women, whether that's a Femke Bol, obviously. We didn't have Isabella Whitaker or, Aaliyah Butler, or obviously we're not talking about Saweed Nasser or, Marley DiPaulino or Sydney McLaughlin-Roney or Gabby. Like, we're not talking about that field in any capacity. And also someone like Shawnee Miller-Weibo, who ran extremely fast in the 300 this year. Whole different conversation. Here, to be fair, Natalia Bukvietska, who is literally a 2-time Olympic bronze medalist and a world championship medalist from 2023. So outdoors, right? So she, of course, has some quality. Lieke Klaver, she got the silver medal in 2024 indoors behind Femke Bol. You also had Henriette Jaeger, who got the bronze medal last year indoors. But you can kind of, and I hate to be like kind of disparaging, but it's like this just wasn't the high quality of the field that many of us might have expected. But shout out to Lourdes Manuel coming from the Czech Republic, or I'm sorry, from Czechia, right? Personal best 50.76 seconds. Great performance to kind of take advantage of the opportunity to take advantage of, again, gotta be clear, right? A relatively low quality field across the board and actually execute, when it mattered the most, right? I think this was a good performance for her. Now, the thing that I was kind of disappointed with is Natalia Bukvietska. She was in heat 1. So, Manuel, she was in heat 2, whereas Bukvietska was in heat 1. So yes, I know we deal with this in the NCAA all the time, but this is the first time on the world stage that we're seeing the split heats, and we don't get to see the top 2 women, go head to head. We see the 50.76, and then in final one, we see 50.83. It's like, we'll see. It wasn't the greatest, I guess, optically, but listen, shout out to the women. Bukvietska getting a silver medal, and then Lieke Klaver, 51.02 seconds. Lieke Klaver, she's been kind of stuck in this little, I guess, purgatory to a degree where it's like she ran 51 seconds, like all the way back in She ran 51 flat back in like early February or something like that. And she just hasn't progressed since then. Like she literally has not progressed this year since then. And she also it's tough for her because like, we just got to be honest, when you're looking at the outdoor 400 in 2023, I guess 2024 as well, on the circuit, she was like in the conversation, but like, she's not approaching those outdoor conversations with the likes of, forget Sydney, Paulino, and Nasser. That's a whole different, like, that conversation is gone. I mean, it's like really Sydney conversation, Paulino conversation, Nasser conversation, everyone else conversation, right? Like 4 different conversations in that case. But Leaky Claver might be like in another conversation, even behind some of the other women. So that's where it does get tricky. But, we'll see. Shout out to Leaky Claver and the women in the 400 across the board. Manuel for getting that gold. On the men's side, this actually was, I think, pretty interesting. I actually did like the men's 400 here. Yeah, Aaron, we just spoke about the 60 hurdles. Yeah, like didn't perform, but it is what it is. So with the men's 400, I actually was pretty impressed here. Now, just for context, like in the final, let me actually just even look at the start list, but well, it doesn't matter. I was actually very, very happy that we had these 3 guys all lined up in the same final, right? Shout out to Chris Robinson for, getting the win, and Molnar as well for second place in the first heat. But I was impressed because this was the matchup that I was looking for: Morales Williams versus McRae. And then also Dream Richards, he, you can't have him out of the conversation, being, the world champion indoors from 2022, and then also the world outdoor silver medalist from last year. And of course, 4th place at the Olympics in the fastest race ever. Like, Dream Richards is in that 400 conversation, even if this year hasn't been as high quality for him. But this was a race. And I don't know if this race played out how you might have expected, but considering their different strengths, I think it did play out like that, right? So Caleb McRae, he was out like an absolute rocket. Like, he got the break, and by the time you got to 300 meters into the race, he had a pretty good gap. Whereas Dream Richards and Christopher Miles Williams, they were both fighting for, well, Christopher Miles Williams just ahead of Dream Richards, in the second place spot. But then 75 meters to go, 80 meters to go, Morales Williams is digging. And you see, listen, Christopher Miles Williams does not have the greatest form, right? Like, he's not like, all that. And I just listened to a podcast where he was talking about how he didn't even start lifting until he got to Georgia, and he still doesn't even like lift like that. But listen, he dug deep. And I say this kind of played out to form because Christopher Miles Williams isn't the most explosive athlete. He doesn't get out very strong in the first 200, but he always is going to have a strong second 200. And that's exactly what he did here. Whereas Caleb McRae, he always is going to fight for that break. He always is going to, be out like a rocket. But then, I guess when you're matched up against Christopher Miles Williams, who's running on all cylinders, that's when it gets a little tougher if you're not, holding your pace there. So the 2 conversations, well, I guess 3 conversations, Dream Richards coming in 3rd place. I don't think this is really indicative of anything when we look forward outdoors for Dream Richards, because just for some context, in 2024, Dream Richards didn't even make the final at the World Indoor Champs. And then all of a sudden he goes outdoors and runs 43 seconds, right? Last year, I don't know if he went crazy indoors or if maybe he ran 1 or 2 races indoors, but then obviously he gets a silver medal, runs a personal best, at the, like, I don't know if this is indicative of what we'll see outdoors from Dream. I'm very confident in what he'll do outdoors, especially when we're talking about Commonwealth Games. Actually, we're going to talk about Botswana in the 400 in a second, but Commonwealth Games is going to be good this year. But Christopher Miles Williams, grit. I think, yeah. Aaron just said it. Like, he's all grit at the end. Like, listen, this was big for Christopher Miles Williams. I think people were maybe a little low on him the past 2 years because 2024, he broke the world record indoors. He ran the 44.49. He was the NCAA champion, both indoors and outdoors. But then when we got to the Olympic Games, he didn't show up, right? In terms of, performing to expectations, didn't make the final, et cetera, et cetera. Last year, he got injured, from my understanding, right? He was dealing with injuries and some setbacks. Not like, okay, I was fully injured, but, he was dealing with some setbacks. But this year, I think he's healthy, and I think he's just executing, maybe hitting the weight room, like doing certain things, making sure he's more aggressive. Like, I think this year, he's really now kind of proving himself and showing up like, okay, this is the athlete who I am. This is who I'm truly, you know, capable of, right? So I'm I'm very excited for what Christopher Miles Williams is going to be able to do outdoors. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be running 43.4 or 43.3. Like, I don't know about all that. That's a whole different thing. But I do think it would be crazy to count him out of the conversation. And again, I'm going to talk about Botswana at the end to talk about Commonwealth Games, because Christopher Miles Williams is right in that. My bad. What I just do? He's right in that. He's running Commonwealth Games, right? He's going to be at Commonwealth Games. Dream Richard is going to be at Commonwealth Games, but that's that. The other thing is that Caleb McRae, I think, obviously on paper, Caleb McRae didn't perform up to expectations. He's already run 45.5 this year, right? I think that's going to be ratified as a world record. But Caleb has already, to a degree, let me be clear, but to a degree, he's semi-proven that this is not like, I don't know. I guess I'm like talking as if he like was expected to win gold. I don't know. I think this was a big matchup, but I just think Caleb McRae has shown that he is capable of running fast outdoors and being relatively competitive, that this is almost going to be a springboard for him as we do go through the outdoor season, especially in 2026, right? Okay, cool. My second, you know, individual championships, he made the world team last year, made it to the semifinals in the 400. Now I got a medal. Okay, but I didn't get the gold medal. How is it that I can step things up? Great. I've already run 43 seconds outdoors last year. Cool. How can I step things up? This, I think, is going to be motivation for Caleb McRae. And essentially, I say this because let me think about this. Obviously, there's sometimes where an athlete can come indoors and maybe can like overperform expectations, or maybe not overperform, but like get on the podium or do really well, but we haven't fully seen it outdoors yet. So I'll use an example of Zaynab Dosso, where Zaynab Dosso has been, again, bronze, silver, and then now the gold medal indoors in the 60 meters. But we haven't actually seen her execute outdoors yet, right? We haven't seen her break 11 seconds. We haven't seen her, you know, contend with other athletes on the Diamond League circuit. Whereas Julien, Alfred, and even Jason Sears, they've run fast outdoors and contended with some of the other top women. That's kind of how I look at Caleb McRae. Now, Christopher Miles Williams, different conversation, because he's also, you know, he's run. I think he'll do well. But Caleb McRae, even though he got the silver medal here, he didn't run 44 seconds. I think he's already proven himself outdoors to a degree to be able to contend with some of the other athletes in the 400. But we gonna, you know, I think he's gonna be able to show up and kind of build off that momentum as we go through the 2026 season. So all that to say, I think I was like kind of talking through. I think for Christopher Miles Williams and Caleb McRae, overall, this is a very good performance. Last thing I do want to note is Christopher Miles Williams is kind of taking over the indoor 400. Like, look at so what he just ran now, 44.76. Christopher Miles Williams has now run 44.49. He's also run 44.67. He's also run the 44.76, so that's not going to come up here yet. You know, it'll get updated. He's run 44.80, and he's run 44.87. This year alone, in 2026, he's run 3 times under the 45-second barrier, and all-time, he has 5 performances under 45 seconds, which is the most ever. And, of course, he has the world record time, right? Again, it's not going to be ratified. I suspect that Caleb McRae is going to get the thing ratified, but he has the world record, right? 44.49. So, listen, Christopher Miles Williams is doing damage. Now, Chris, I'm gonna need you to not become like what's his name? Is it Pavel Mazlek, right? Mazlek, who won like 3 back-to-back gold medals at the World Indoor Champs. Chris, I'm gonna need you to like make some finals outdoors. I'm gonna need you to run the 43 seconds a couple times outdoors. Like, that's what I want to see. I don't want you to be like that, you know. I don't want you to be stuck indoors, you know, running fast and dominating, because we know you got the talent. So yeah, like, listen, shout out to Mazlek. Like, but I'm just say it. But yeah, shout out to him. Listen, those Jay-Z tickets, I don't know, man. I don't know how much they gonna cost. Like, I don't know. We'll see, maybe. But yeah, man, that'd be crazy. But yeah, man, exactly. Yeah. He was, and I remember in 2018 he won the gold medal, but it was almost like on a technicality because the 2 guys got disqualified, if I'm correct. Yeah, man. Yo, listen, shout out to Pavel Mazlak. Shout out to Mazlak. Let's roll through here because at the end I do want to get to like some other question. Oh, and I got to talk about Botswana in the 400. But let me just very quickly roll through some of the field events because I was very impressed with some of the field events across the board. Shout out to the women's triple jump, Lianis Perez Hernandez, getting the this I don't like this this format, but shout out to Lianis Perez Hernandez getting the gold medal over Yulimar Rojas. Perez Hernandez jumps 14.95, equals the world lead, which Yulimar Rojas actually held this year in her one competition. So I thought this was a good performance because Rojas, for all intents and purposes, is healthy, right? She got the bronze last year outdoors. Now she jumped 14.9 to open her year, and she ends up with the silver medal. Granted, Rojas now has 4 indoor medals, right? I think she has 3 indoor golds, and then now this is a silver. So good performance, but Perez Hernandez getting consistent, gold medal at the World Indoor Champs last year, gold medal at the World Outdoor Champs, this year, and then gold medal outdoor champs last year, and then gold medal indoors this year. Shout out to Perez Hernandez, Yulimar Rojas, Sally Saar. Listen, big performance, 14.70, huge performance for her. So shout out to the women's triple jump. On the other one I think went to chalk was just the men's pole vault. Mondo Duplantis, like this was pure chalk across the board. But the thing I just want to highlight is how there is no competition. Like we entertained it. We saw him jump 617, amazing performance, and Corrales got the silver medal here. But it's like Mondo is just in a different realm, like absolute different realm. And if I just look at the series, it's like Mondo is he's clear. This is where I say no one is going to be competition for Mondo until they are jumping 6'1" or 6'2" consistently. He's getting 6.10 for him is a walk in the park. It's just warm-ups. 6:15, like he forced Corrales to go up to 6:20. So like by jumping 6:15 on his first attempt, it's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, but shout out to Corrales for jumping 6:05 on his first attempt, but it's a different level. Like it's a different level. So and then shout out to Zach Bradford. Wait, did I see this right? Oh no, Curtis Marshall. Why is this looking wrong? That's messed up. Curtis Marshall jumped 6 meters. So 3 guys over 6 meters. I think that's the second time in history that's ever happened. The last time was the 2024 Poland Diamond League. 2024 Poland Diamond League. But yeah, men's pole vault pretty much went to chalk, which I think is like really dope. The other thing I just want to highlight very quickly, let me see if I could pull this up. Yesterday, just the last 2 things I want to highlight. I want to talk about that. I'll briefly talk about that mixed 4x4. Just yesterday, the men's triple jump, I didn't get a chance to actually talk about it, but Andy Diaz-Hernandez getting the gold medal, 17.47, Jordan Scott, 17.33, and Yasser Tricky, 17.30. I was actually overall impressed with this competition because I was pretty disappointed with the triple jump, the men's triple jump coming into the championships, but I was like pretty impressed because 3 guys got over 17.3, and I think the last time that happened was 2018. At the World Indoor Champs. So this at least showed some quality. Andy Diaz-Hernandez defends his title. Yasser Tricky back on the podium. Jordan Scott on the podium for the first time. And this is the first time in history that Jamaica won a medal in the triple jump on the men's side. Like Olympics, World Outdoor Champs, or World Indoor Champs. This is the first ever triple jump medal for Jamaica on the men's side. They have a ton of women who have won medals in the triple jump. But Jordan Scott, this was big for Jamaica. So shout out to Jordan Scott there. The last thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to end off just with Botswana and what they did today, is the the mixed 4x4, right? I think I'm not even going to do like a breakdown of this race, to be honest, or like anything. But all I'm going to say, and also I'm going to get to some comments as well, because we're not too bad on time. All I'm going to say is we saw like a big mix up, between after the during the handoffs and athletes falling. The USA kind of blocked Jamaica, and then Jamaica did a whole bunch. Jamaican athlete did a whole bunch of things as well. And it's like, so USA, they end up finishing way back in the last. Jamaica initially got the bronze medal, if I'm correct, but then they were disqualified. I mean, I don't know. Assess this as you want, but I don't know. This may or may not be harsh, but this this event is like so basically like useless to me. I don't see a reason for us to run this mixed 4x4. All these countries, we have to be completely honest. We have to be completely honest. Shout out and all due respect to all these athletes. But these countries essentially treated this as a second class event for all the doing, for all purposes, right? Like, it's just like I feel like I'm pretty well versed in the sport and with like a lot of athletes. I know, and again, all due respect to every athlete, I know Justina Svitzer, right? She's been competing for like she might be for a decade at this point. Like she's been competing for many years for Poland. So I know her very well. And then I know Leah Anderson because she's competed for for Jamaica in terms of like the 4x4s a couple times, and Delano Kennedy. I'm gonna be honest, those are like the three names that I know out of all the athletes here. Like this was just not it. You know what I'm saying? This was just not it. And okay, so shout out to Belgium. I apologize. I'm just not familiar with them. So if this was like their actual A team, but I'm just not as familiar. But I think in general, it's like the countries are treating this as like a almost forgettable event. And I think it's just not as entertaining as like World Athletics wants it to be. I just think it's like, I don't know. We're gonna see the regular 4x4s at the end of the meet. I know that we're going to see at the World's Ultimate Champs, we're going to see the mixed 4x4 and the mixed 4x1, but I just don't know, man. It's just not like we're going to see the mixed 4x1 at the Olympic Games in 2028. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. This was just not it. So I guess, again, all due respect and shout out to the athletes who actually are walking home with medals. But I don't know. I just don't know. That's where I'll leave it. I just don't know. But yeah, that's the events. The other thing I did want to talk about was just Botswana, but also shout out to the high jumps. Yaroslav Mahuchik was able to get a gold medal and in the women's high jump. So great performance for her there. But let's quickly talk about very quickly, and then I'm gonna go to some of these comments. But Botswana, and this I think provides some like very big implications as we look forward to 2026 and the Commonwealth Games. So here we saw Botswana, Lee Epi. So this is all at home in Botswana, but Lee Epi. Oh yes, and we'll talk about Jamaica in a second as well. So this actually might be good timing. So Lee Epi, 44.53 in his 400-meter opener, and Colleen Kebenat-Chippy, he ran 44.55. So both of them kind of going, all the way to the line, head to head. And this was a good performance, and kind of does give an indication that like Botswana is not slowing up in any capacity. All these athletes are relatively young. Obviously, we've seen the whole back and forth between Botswana and USA, with USA not sending a team to World Relays, and World Relays is happening in Botswana. And obviously they're in great form. So I don't know. This was a good performance, and really does indicate that we're in for a very, very, very good 400 at the Commonwealth Games in 2026, in my opinion, because depending on who actually does run, and I'm just going to pull up the, let's just do this for 2020. Let me see, 2020. Let me do 2023. So depending on who actually does end up running at these Commonwealth Games, and I'm just going to look at the 400s, you have a lot of athletes who are in this conversation. So just looking at athletes who are eligible for Commonwealth Games, you're talking about Matthew Hudson-Smith. So, Olympic Games, he ran 43.44. Kebenat-Chippy, world champion from last year, 43.5. Jareem Richards, just spoke about him last year, silver medalist, 43.72. Muzala Samakonga, Olympic bronze medalist, 43.74. Again, this is all Commonwealth Games. Zakiti Nene, 43.76. Karani James, 43.78. Right? Who else? You got Rasheen McDonald, 44.04 from last year. He's in good form. Just spoke about Christopher Mounts Williams. You know what I'm saying? Bapu Ndori, still in this conversation. Charlie Dobson, right? And again, this is all Commonwealth Games. Let's see, who knows what Let's see might do. You know what I'm saying? Like Lilith Pillay, I think he just ran a really fast opener in 2026 earlier this year. So, Stephen Gardner, could he get back? We just spoke about Lee Epi, right? Almost ran his personal best. Samuel Ghazi. Listen, Commonwealth Games is going to be very, very hot this year in the men's 400. The men's 400 should not be slept on. And when you see performances like this from Botswana, listen, keep a lookout for that 400 at the Commonwealth Games. It is going to be very, very deep. That might be one of the top races to keep a lookout for in 2026. 400 Commonwealth Games in Great Britain this year. Listen, do not sleep. Do not sleep. I'm excited to see, what we're actually, what might actually play out here. Okay. Let me get to some of these comments and then we'll bring up the Jamaican Velocity Fest and see what's up. Because listen, let me see if I could pull this up. But listen, it's exciting. I think it's pretty exciting. But let me just get to some of these comments. Commonwealth men's 4x4 UK versus Botswana versus South Africa. Ooh, yes. Like that is going to be big. That should be very, very big. You know what I'm saying? Like that should be very, very big. That'll be hot. Two different, Aaron, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Two different heats. They both smoke their heat. Cross-check me on what that's in reference to. I don't know if that's in reference to Botswana, because I think they were, if you're talking about Liepi and Kebana Chippy, they were both in the same one, but cross-check me. All right, yeah, Elaine is on the track, so we'll see what's going on with the women's 200 in a few. Oh, actually, no, the result didn't come up yet. It'll come up in a second. And I'll bring it up in a second as well. Yeah, okay, so this is in regards to the mixed 4x4. So it's basically a developmental event, and who'd be ever imagined winning a Belgian 4x4 without a Borley? Yeah, without a Borley. That's true. Yeah, World Relays coming up. It seemed pointless. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so Corrales had great hip clearances in the pole vault and should be able to get up to 620 this summer, but he's still really not that close to Mondo, right? And yes, even if, okay, put it like this. Let's say Corrales in the pole vault. Let's say he jumped 6.25 meters. He is still no competition for Mondo. And it's not because Mondo has a personal best of 6.31 already, but it's because of the consistency. Mondo is consistently jumping marks that are personal best for Corrales at this point. He literally just jumped 6.15 meters just as a path to make sure that he can win the competition. And I might have even said this in a previous live or in a previous video where I'm like, Mondo is going to do what he needs to do to win. So forget 6'1", forget all of that. If this competition, if Corrales jumped 6'15" or 6'20", Mondo would have jumped 6'30". Like it just would have happened. You know what I'm saying? Like Mondo is consistent. So I don't want to see one-off performances. You have to get consistently in those high marks before you're talking about a conversation with Mondo Duplantis. So yeah, I hear this. Random. I was gonna say Claver is the Swoboda of the 400, but Leakey has world and Olympic golds. Well, okay, but like the thing is that's relay, right? Like Leakey Claver has relay medals, but she doesn't have individual medals. Obviously, outside of the 400, well, indoors, right? I mean, Swoboda has indoor medals, so like she doesn't have individual medals. She has the relay medals, but she doesn't have individual. So I don't know if it's like directly equivalent, but I mean, it's obviously we haven't seen Leakey Claver outdoors perform relative to expectations. Now, I will say on the circuit, Leakey Claver, especially in 2023 and 2024, she actually was doing relatively, she was doing pretty well on the circuit, right? In the 400, right? Holding her own against some of the other top 400 meter women. But, I don't know. It's a little tricky there. It's a little tricky. Yeah, okay, so I'm just going backwards a little bit. So he got very close to Corrales got very close to clearing 620 and 625, to be fair. Sure, but again, as I come back to that consistency, if Corrales would have jumped 625, Mondo, I think, would have jumped 630. I think it's just he's capable of doing what he needs to do to win, and no one has that consistency yet. So, Rojas had a marginal foul over 15 meters. She's gradually getting back to her old self. Love to see it, and yeah, she had some good performances. So, I'm excited. All right, yeah, okay. So I don't know why. Let me see. Nah, this didn't come up. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up the. Okay, so Elaine ran 22.61. Nice. So I'm gonna pull up the. Let me see what we got here. No, that's the men. I just want to pull up the results here very quickly. So give me 1 second. So just for sorry, different screen here. So just for context, on the women's side, so Shericka Jackson, 52.04 seconds as her opener. Let me just zoom in to make it a little bit better. But yeah, Shericka Jackson, 400 meter, 52.04, taking down relatively strong athletes, right? This is like opener, but Rochelle Clayton ran 52.5, as well as Cheyenne Solomon running 53.28. Obviously, both of them are hurdlers. So strong performance from, well, let me not say strong. I don't know. I think it's good to see, you know, her with this opening performance. So, you know, not mad at that. Not mad at that at all. Oops, that is not what I meant. Let me actually bring this up. But in the 200, my bad, it just hadn't come up for me. But I take the word that in the 200, Shericka did run. I'm sorry, Elaine, it just didn't come up for me yet. Oh no, that's the other one. My bad. This one. Elaine Thompson-Herah. So 22.61 for Elaine Thompson-Herah. So also pretty good. This is actually, let me think about this for a second. This is actually pretty good. This is actually pretty good. Let's do some experimentation here very quickly. Elaine, here we go. So let's just cross check. Again, she's just coming back from injury, right? We saw her run, you know, the 60s this year. We already. So she ran a 7.20. This is Elaine Thompson-Herah. This year, she's already run 7.20. She's run 7.24 as her return back since 2024. Her last race being the New York City Grand Prix in June of 2024. But if I look back, so let me just do like 2022, where she was coming off a very strong year. At the top of the year, she ran a bunch of 60s. And then, I mean, again, all of this is like different context. Coming back healthy. She had already run, you know, some really fast races, but, you know, she runs 22.75 in May of 2022. I don't know. You know, what are you going to compare that to? Maybe a little bit. Maybe in 2023. Oh no, she was injured. Let's see. 2023, she was injured early in the year. I don't even think she ran the 200. Actually, no. Okay. Hold up. Again, I'm doing this all live, so we just cross-checking, but this is Elaine Thompson-Herah. So in 2023, she ran 23.23 seconds all the way in April 2023, dealing with some injuries. But remember, at the end of the year, now she was with Shaniki Osborne, but she eventually did get to 10.7. So listen, I'm actually very impressed. 22.61 is actually very, very impressive from Elaine Thompson-Herah. And all things considered, like, I think many of us, somebody, let me see. Maybe I didn't see it. Oh yeah. Oh, my bad. Dynamic. So you said it. So didn't expect Elaine to jump back into running a 200 this soon. Good to see. I'm with that. Yeah, I agree, because I didn't actually expect her to run a 200 this soon. I thought I didn't even expect her to run a 200 at all this year. But let's see. I'm gonna try and pull up, because I think okay, cool. Let's listen, if I go down, yeah, know what happened. I'm gonna pull this up here. I think I could do this, because this is you know, how Jamaica be working. But this is the actual race of Elaine. So let's like get the camera moving. So okay, this is, I'm impressed here. Obviously, relative to the field, it is whatever, but this is Elaine Thompson-Herah with some good, this is that form. Now, what I'm actually seeing from here is, like, you can see that she's laboring in that second half. Like, I can tell she's laboring a little bit in that second half of the race, like the last 100 or the last 75 or so, but she actually is keeping that form, that really good Elaine Thompson-Herah form. You could see, obviously, her arm drive, she's getting those knees up, like, and you could see, like, this is good from Elaine. Like, again, you can kind of tell that she's a little bit labored, right? Like, she's really, really pushing, you know, trying to get to that finish line. Yeah, she's leaning forward towards the end. But when I'm looking at this, I say that Elaine Thompson-Herah is one of the athletes with, like, the greatest form in history. Like, I look at Elaine and Flojo as, like, you know, I look at Elaine, Flojo, Asafa Powell, like, those athletes are, like, if I want to show, like, execution, I like to say, okay, this is someone you should look at. She is showing that in this second half of the race. Now, coming off the curve, again, this is just like pure initial eye test. and like from this far away vantage point, if y'all ever been into the Jamaican stadium, it's like but the vantage point is, it's tough to see. But just from this view, it's like you can see maybe coming off the curve, maybe her form isn't the greatest, but I like her form in the second half. I like this. Forget the rest of the field. I don't think that's like too relevant, but this is what I like to see. This is what I like to see from Elaine Thompson-Herah. Again, she looks like she's almost reaching a little bit for that for the line, right, to get to the finish, but she is executing. She's executing. I like this. 22.61 from Elaine Thompson-Herah. Listen. This is where did I lost it, my bad. 22.61 from Elaine Thompson-Herah. I like this. I really do like this. No, that's not the right one, my bad. Let me just pull this back up for a second. I'm excited. This is a good indicator for Elaine Thompson-Herah on like, okay, what the 2026 season is going to look like. Because listen, if she's aiming for Commonwealth games, now granted, I don't know what she may be targeting in terms of Commonwealth games. Like, is she only targeting the 100 or is she targeting that double again? Remember, 2022 at the Commonwealth Games, she won the double, both the 100 and the 200. Is that her goal for 2026 again? Does she want to defend both those titles? Or is her focus to potentially keep things, take things a little bit slow, right? Like, is her target to say, okay, let's just like focus in on the 100. Maybe this 200 was just to get her back on her feet to, make sure she's progressing. Once again, she's been away since 2024. Like, she has not competed since 2024. And then all of a sudden she's running 260 meters and then now a 200 that I didn't even expect. Listen, I'm impressed with Elaine Thompson-Herah. 22.61 is very good as a first 200 in March. It's very good. I'm kind of like, again, we did this live in terms of just like checking the result and, watching the race and all that. This was very, very good and very impressive, and at least does show that she's on a very, very strong trajectory. Now, I'm like, what I'm doing more often is being a lot more conservative as I look forward in terms of like predicting performances or predicting things. So I'm still not on the train of Elaine is definitely going to run 10.7, right? I'm not on that train yet in terms of like this year. I think based on those 60-meter races she has had, and then even this 200, she's definitely in the form of like, all right, 10.9 and then 10.8. If everything stays healthy and consistent, I think that's like the path she's on for 2026. But in terms of the 200, that's a whole different discussion because I don't know. 22.61, very good as an opener. But again, I just don't know her goals and like how much, load she wants to put on her in terms of, multiple races and doubling up and et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the day, we know that Elaine Thompson-Herah is injury prone. Like, her entire career has been ups and downs of injuries, ups and downs. 2015 and 2016, she's up. 2017, 2018, 2019, she's down. 2020, 2021, she's up. 22, 23, 24, she's down. Now 2026, she's back up. That's the only thing. It's a whole bunch of ups and downs. But yeah, I'm excited. This was good. I think and then even shout out to Toby Ami-san and Akira Nugent. They're training. Both of them are now training together under Glenn Mills in Racers Track Club. So listen, they put in some good work. But all right, yeah, I don't know. Let me just any other thoughts or comments? Let me just circle back. I know some of y'all said some stuff. Yeah, Elaine is back. 22.61. Oh yeah, this is actually a good point. The women's 200 in Jamaica is not deep. It's right now. Let me actually be very clear. Right now, it's not deep, right? So, for example, Sharika Jackson, she had the wild card last year. So, you had Ashanti Moore, you had a couple other women as well. And then it's actually crazy because shout out to Light and Levy. He noted that he has good word that Lene Tava-Thomas is retiring or is no longer going to be in the sport. And she was like the 200-meter athlete. Because remember, the Olympic Games in 2024, you had Lene Tava-Thomas, you had Sharika Jackson, you had Naisha Berger. Sharika Jackson obviously pulled out, but Lene Tava-Thomas, coming out of Texas, previously training with Coach Flo, but now she's retired. That like takes away some of the strength in what we saw from the 200 across the board. But we'll see. Let me pull up because I think, yeah, okay. So this kind of does point to kind of what I'm saying here. So, and shout out to the Clayton twins, right? The Clayton twins just ran the 200 in the A final and got beat by Creek Hill and Sade Williams. Yeah, man. So to the point of the 200, it's like we just saw Creek Hill. Shout out to Creek Hill running a personal best, and she's like kind of one of the rising stars in a sense for Jamaica. Like, yeah, she's like a young rising star for sure. Sade Williams, we know her, bronze medal in 2022 and 2023 at the World Championships in the 400. Trains with MVP and Sharika Jackson, all them. But then we see Tina Clayton and Tina Clayton running 23-1 and 23-3-3. Shout out to Julien Williams, a mainstay, one of the veterans of Jamaican track and field, 23.12. But this kind of goes to the point. The two young stars from Jamaica in the 200, it's like, in the 100, they're not looking at the 200 as something right now, right? We're not going to be seeing them, really dip into the 200 in any capacity. You're looking at whether it's Creeker Hill, Kavona Davis, I think is like returning. I think she's back in Jamaica with Glenn Mills. And then you add in Elaine Thompson-Herah. You have Sharika Jackson, Nisha Berger didn't do as well last year, but it's a mixed. I'll look a little bit deeper into like Jamaican 200 meter sprinting. I'm sure Leighton Levy is probably gonna shout out to Leighton. He's been on point. He's probably gonna put out something as it relates to what do you call it? Like the two just Jamaican Elaine Thompson-Herah and all that. Oh yeah, Creek Hill is primarily a hurdler. That's true. But I mean, if you're, why I'm thinking about it. If she runs 22.80, because of the depth in the 200 right now for Jamaica, could you be a challenger? Could you make the team? And you know what I'm saying? Like that's something I just immediately thought of. But yeah, that's a good point. she is a hurdler, but I don't know. That's a tricky part. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. But yeah, let me see. Okay. Oh, so yeah, we just watched the race back. I don't know if she was running at 75%. I think Elaine was definitely working here. And again, I'll just like bring it up just for context. She was definitely working. Like, I think if anything, she looked like she was reaching. You can even tell here at the end, like it looks like she's pushing and reaching for the line versus like running 75%. So I don't know. But she looked good. She looked good, right? Yes. So appreciate y'all for cross-checking. Yeah, I do like 22.61. It was very, very good. And yes, scary in a good way. Yeah, I agree. She'll be running 22 low, and then that's going to help her 100. Definitely. Because remember, I thought in the 60-meter races that she did to start off the year, I thought, especially that first one, her form did not look great. She looked like she was very rusty in terms of like, okay, you're just coming back. So that means the second half of her 100, she probably needs to get back to learning how to maintain her form, right? And maintain that speed, endurance, and that strength. Running a few more 200s is definitely going to help the 100. Again, she's the defending Commonwealth Games 100 and 200 champion. I don't know if she was going to double this year at Commonwealth Games. It's going to be a big load in terms of like managing that after a full, almost full 2 years off. So, we'll see. But yes, hopefully she stays healthy. Okay. I mean, listen, this is all slow progression to our goal of winning the 100 and 200 at the next two global championships. I mean, listen, this I will say, Elaine Thompson-Herah is extremely talented, and we know what she's capable of. But obviously, and she's going to set those goals, but it's going to be tough. Let's just put it like that. Obviously, we know it's going to be tough. And yes, Clayton twins. Yeah, we'll see whenever Star Athletics, whenever they open up. Maybe we'll see them in. Well, actually, we're going to see. Is it? I'm trying to think. I know in May at the Diamond Leagues, we're going to see what you call it. We'll see Star Athletics opening up in China. And then I know, Sha'Carri and Krisha Coleman, they're going to Australia to run that kind of grass race. So, we'll see how athletes do start to open up. All right, so Elaine, as rusty as she can easily make the 200 team, now she would need to get in under 22 form to be in contention. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely needs to be in sub 22 shape to be able to really be in contention. Sharika Jackson, if Sharika Jackson is healthy, then you're already kind of like slotting things out at that point. Moses Jefferson-Whitten is gone, right? Like she's at this point on another level in both the 100 and the 200. You add in, obviously we didn't see a great performance from Julien Alfred here, but you can't sleep on, like, Julien Alfred was running 21.7s last year, right? Or did she run? Yeah, she ran 21.7 last year in the 200. So, and obviously she got injured at World, so she got the bronze in the 100 and then pulled out of the 200. But it's like Melissa Jefferson Wooden, Julien Alfred, Sharika Jackson. Who knows? Get Gabby Thomas healthy. Obviously, I think she said she's gonna try to focus on doubling up 400 and 200. But the point is, it's deep. It's very, very competitive. So, but Elaine, obviously, we know her past. We know that she's extremely talented, one of the greatest of all time in terms of, you know, her performances and all that stuff. But it's not easy. And as I always point out, the health and the age, it's not easy. But, you know, I'm excited. I'm very impressed with this 22.6. Let me see. She's never showed up at Worlds the way she has at the Olympics. What do you mean by that? I'd love maybe additional context on that. So at Worlds, I don't know. I mean, I think at Worlds and Olympics, it's just like, it's mixed, right? So obviously, yes, at the 2 Olympic Games, she won the double-double, but then last year she was injured, right? 2 years ago, she was injured in 2024. So I think I'm not on the train of like, okay, at every Olympics that she competes at, she is definitely going to be on point, because she didn't even get to compete at this past Olympics because she was injured. I think that always has to be taken into consideration, where if she's injured or she's dealing with injuries or she's putting too much load on her body, then that's going to set her back and she won't be able to perform. Now, at the World Champs, she also has had some setbacks actually a lot of them, more often than not, right? 2017, 2019, 2022, she got a medal, she got the bronze. 2023, she didn't make the team. 2025, she was injured. So it's like, it's mixed. She's dealt with injuries, and if she's dealing with injuries, then she can't get back up. But she looks healthy now. She looks to be really strong and showing that she has not lost her talent in any capacity. It's just a matter of how far is she going to, you know, be able to dip into, you know, what she previously has done in terms of Elaine Thompson-Herah. So, you know, we'll see. Okay, so Ashanti Moore, just at the Velocity Fest, she won the 400-meter B final in 54.38, just 700ths of a second off her personal best. Okay, so Ashanti Moore, of course, she was Jamaican champion last year. She made the semifinals at the World Championships last year. I don't think she made the final in the 200 last year, but, you know, she is, I mean, she's not even, I was going to say a rising star, but she's been here for some years, right? Ashanti Moore has been here for a while. So shout out to Ashanti Moore. But all right, dope. So that was day 2 of the World Indoor Champs, and some of the Jamaican trial stuff as well. So now, for those who have been asking, or not Jamaican trials, I'm sorry, Velocity Fest performances as well. For those who have been asking, by now, I wanted to wait until after the women's 60 meters to put out a video on like Irina Privalova, because I thought maybe the world record could be touched. I don't know, but I don't know if I thought the world record was going to get broken, but I thought someone would get close. Nobody got close. So Irina Privalova, she obviously has a world record in the 60 meters. So I got a video coming out on her soon. But I'll be back again tomorrow to kind of like cap things off and recap the World Indoor Champs. So I'll probably go live a few hours afterwards, just to like recap things. And then I have a few videos actually already coming out for the rest of the week. But also, if you haven't already, tap in with Preet Majithia. He's been doing recaps on a City Smag podcast. So obviously I haven't been diving into like the distance events, and even I've only been touching upon the field events. But tap in podcasts on City Smag, you know, channels across, you know, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, et cetera. Definitely tap in there. And all the interviews he's been, you know, shout out to Pre, he's been holding things down in Poland. And then, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll get the last 2 comments since I'm closing out. I thought we were getting 3 sub-7s in the 60 today. I thought we were going to see at least one, you know what I'm saying? Elaine in 2015 has silver in the 200, 2022 bronze in the 100. And the 4x1. She did okay, but her Olympic career is definitely more impressive. Yeah, 100%. And that's in response to the other comment. Yes. Oh, I mean, yeah. This comment. On a side note, I know I missed the 400-meter recap, but Christopher Miles Williams showing who's a real indoor record holder. I mean, check out my you know, circle back when I end this live, and you can see the what I spoke about with it. But yeah, Christopher Miles Williams. Listen, don't become Maslek. That's all I'm asking. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate it.